Well, guys, you just finished chapter one, and I gotta be honest with you, as I was listening to it after I read it, there was so many things in there that stuck out to me that were really good. And when I wrote this chapter, I was like, this is kind of a like introduction to the entire book. And I remember writing it and thinking about, oh man, I gotta include so much in here, and there's so much to talk about, and going so many different ways. But like I don't had so much fun with this, talking about being the certified suction king and like it being okay to suck at the beginning. And I think a lot of times as leaders we forget that it's okay to suck. We forget that that's like part of the fun is being bad in the beginning and like getting better at it. I also, as I look through it, like I still remember the story of the stopping at the top of Wolf Creek to take a leak, and that guy doing that. That's been one of my favorite stories to tell. And it's like, I probably should have stopped and chained up, but I didn't, and I just kept going because we learn our lessons as we go, and I didn't have any accidents. I remember that year I stood. That year was so magnificent with snow. I could stand on the cab of my Kenworth truck and hold my hand up above my head and not touch the snow. Like they were plowing snow that year, and they had a snowblower on the front of a loader. They had a snow cap pushing snow off the guardrails, and they got a snowblower truck that has like its own diesel engine for the snowblower, and they had all of those working in unison to push snow off the edge of the mountain. And it was like I remember passing those guys multiple times that year as I would crawl that pass, and it was just so amazing to see what happened. But like it's really fun to see that stuff go through, and I had a lot of fun saying what the book is and what it isn't throughout here. And man, I remember this Garrett J. White one. I don't know if y'all know Garrett J. White. If not, you should look him up. He's absolutely amazing. He didn't start out with religion or faith in his life, but he found it. And it's amazing the way it changed his life as he got that faith in there. And my hope is that as you read through this book, it actually strengthens your faith. Like that's part of my hope for as you go through this. And I just enjoyed this chapter so much. And there's so many good things in here. But that quote about when you first start anything, you're gonna suck. And not just a little. You're going to really suck at it. Right? And like when he delivered this, I still remember I was thinking like, yeah, that's the truth. This was an entrepreneur thing. It was a business thing. And I was in this conference and it was like, oh man, I've totally been sucking at stuff. And then he keeps going, right? But if you keep going, keep learning and refuse to quit. Like that's such a big thing. So many of us, we quit when it gets hard. I think it was Sharon Lecter had a book that was 3 feet from gold, right? She tells a story about how this person puts all this money into a gold mine and they start mining it and then they run out. They just run out of gold. So instead of continuing to dig forward, they just stop and they go sell all the equipment. And this guy buys the equipment. He goes in and he goes 3 feet further and he hits the biggest gold vein in history, right? It's like crazy how much he hits. Because so often we stop before we get to the finish point. And as a forged leader, like that's one of the things that I see constantly is like you don't know when the rock's gonna break. I've heard this analogy, I don't know how many times. Like you hit a rock 99 times, nothing happens. You hit it 100 times, it cracks open. When that geo cracks open, there's beautiful crystals inside of it. But it took the 100th time of hitting it or the 120th time or how many ever times. Like a lot of times we give up too early. And I want to encourage you instead of giving up to like keep pushing forward. And that's, as long as you refuse to quit, eventually you'll suck less. And if you stick with it long enough, one day you'll suck so little, people might actually think you're good. Right? Like, just sit on that for a second. If you do something long enough, you're going to get great at it. I was listening to a book the other day, and it talked about this pottery class, and you had two options. You could make the best pot and get an A, and it had to be a super high quality, or you could turn out the most pots and get an A. And the kids who turned out the most pots actually turned out the best pots because they were doing it. And a lot of times what happens is like leadership is we don't get good at things sometimes if we don't do them. Right? Like I'm a pilot. Y'all are going to learn this in the book a little bit later, but I'm a pilot. I've got my pilot's license, and there's some great stories from getting my pilot's license and flying. But I learned more after I got my license than I did when I got it because I kept flying. Right? Driving is the same way. If we don't practice this stuff, we're still going to suck. If you don't ever try, if you don't swing and miss, you're still going to suck. You got to swing. You got to not be scared to swing. Okay? And I love this last part of this quote. But make no mistake, you'll still suck compared to where you're heading next. Like, think about that for a second. I suck today of where I'm going to be in 3 years. Like, if I look back in 3 years to where I was 3 years ago, boy, I sucked back then. And if I look 3 years before that, I sucked even worse. And if I look 3 years before that, I sucked even worse. Right? The more you do it, the better you get. And that's what I need you to realize. That's what I want you to understand is like, there's so much in here. There's so much in here. But if you refuse to give up, and you try and you put one foot in front of the other, you're going to get better. And that's what this first chapter is all about. It's giving you permission to suck. It's giving you permission to try and fail. It's giving you permission to go to that next level, to actually give it a shot. Because how many of you right now aren't? You're not moving forward. And why aren't you moving forward? It's because you're too scared to take the first step. You're not doing hard things. And that comes up later too, but you got to do hard things. Okay? And this is giving you permission to do hard things. And that's what I want from you. You guys, that's chapter 1. I can't wait to keep going. Let's see what happens next.